I finished my bucket list by the time I was 50 years old. I married my best friend, I had 2 children, got to go to Disney annually, was a yoga instructor, art teacher, I got to work with kids, and we bought a cottage. If you think that sounds amazing, you are right. But you also know that nothing is what it seems. Our first Disney trip with our daughter was for her wish trip in 1998. Our daughter was born with heart defects that can't be repaired. She's had 3 heart surgeries and she will need a heart transplant in the near future. And here's a poor quality video of our daughter's 3rd Disney vacation and our son's 2nd. Our son was born with a genetic disorder that is so rare it doesn't even have a name yet. It only has a genetic number. The sum of having children with special needs is stress. However, we manage our stress with interesting coping strategies over the years. I wanted to give our children an enchanted childhood filled with annual Disney vacations. But to afford that, I had to become a travel agent, and I specialized in Disney. I also started teaching fitness, yoga, and art when my kids were in school. Around the time our children decided they'd had enough of Disney, personally I don't know what they're thinking of, could never have enough of Disney, we bought our off-the-grid cottage in the woods. We lived there part-time, but we also have to live in the city part-time because our children still require hospitals and schools that are only in the city. So we have to live there part-time as well. Those interesting coping strategies I told you about kind of got destructive as our kids got older. I developed an eating disorder to cope with stress. I went on antidepressants, which did help, but I gained 100 pounds in 3 months. I stopped exercising and teaching yoga. I'm still working on this one. Our kids are doing great. Our daughter starts college in the fall and she's a brilliant writer. She still needs constant medical care in the city and she will need a heart transplant. Our son is an honor student and a filmmaker. And my husband is an amazing photographer. And I need a new bucket list. I've spent the past couple years hibernating and learning new skills that interest me. I've been approached to teach my new skills and some of my old ones. And I want to incorporate these into that new bucket list that I'll be making. I want to help my kids and my husband with their bucket lists. I've been working on this one for a while. My son wanted to ride the world's tallest roller coaster, so I contacted the powers that be and I arranged an all-expensive paid vacation for our family so that my son can check off that roller coaster from his list. My daughter wanted a peaceful sanctuary in our house, so I made that happen. My husband's bucket list is a little harder, but I'm working on it. And I kind of sort of really want to be a farmer. But because we spend so much time in the city, it's not possible to raise livestock the type that I want to raise. So I decided to start an urban micro farm in the city and another one in the country at our tiny house off the grid cottage. So far I've been successful with vermiculture, that's raising red composting worms in both locations. I started my permaculture garden at the cottage and microgreens in the city. I also took my knitting and weaving up to the next level and started cleaning and carding raw sheep's fleece, spinning that yarn into art yarn on my spinning wheel and drop spindles, and dyeing and selling my art yarn. I also started building and selling earth looms and teach workshops in vermiculture, permaculture, fiber arts, and earth loom making. The 3rd item on my bucket list is to face my fears. Now that's a big one. And the 4th item is to pass on everything that I've ever learned onto anyone who's also interested in learning those things. And that includes Disney vacation planning tips and money-saving solutions, how to become a travel agent, travel tips, including how to get free travel, like the trip that I got for my son and the rest of the family, off-the-grid tiny house living, vermiculture, micro-farming, microgreens growing, spinning art yarn, fiber arts, and how to create a thriving business doing what you love to do. The third item on my bucket list is to face my fears, and at the moment my fears stem from anxiety. I've had all sorts of professional treatment. Some worked for a while and some never worked at all. So I'm trying something really new for me. I'm truly facing my fears head on. And I want to spend some time talking about this because there are so many of us that share that type of similar fears and anxiety. A huge fear for me is to be alone. Also, driving alone makes me anxious. So what better way to face those fears than a solo road trip? I live in Canada now, and I used to live in the United States. I've been to 22 states and 6 provinces, living in 4 of those provinces, but I've never traveled alone. I want to spend some time alone at our cottage and on the road, and I want to share my planning, process, and progress. And I also want to take my husband on a Route 66 road trip when he retires. I want to visit the desert. I've lived on the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. I've lived in the prairies and in mountains. I've lived around the Great Lakes, but I've never been to a desert. Well, I guess that's it for now. If you want to keep up with how things are going, or to learn about the things that I've already learned about, like free travel, Disney planning, off-the-grid tiny house living, micro-farming, solo travel, road trips, and even a solo Disney trip, that one is definitely going on my new bucket list. Please subscribe. I'll be making loads of videos about these subjects and posting them here. This is going to be fun.